Hello, everybody. Today we're going to take a look at some updated polling out of the key swing states where Trump is maintaining his clear advantage. So let's get right into it. This is another poll from Bloomberg that teamed up with Morning Consult. And across the 7 swing states, they surveyed 4,935 registered voters. The least was 451 in Nevada, all the way up to 801 in Georgia. And those were conducted online between November 27th and December 6th. So as I always say, it's early. Things could easily change in a few months. But right now, the polls are not looking good for Biden, and maybe Morning Consult is not the best. Maybe you don't like the way they surveyed their respondents. Maybe you have a problem with the weighting. That's all fair, but this election is all about the battlegrounds, and that's what this covers. We're going to see where things are at. So the headline is Biden forgave billions in student debt, but polls show it's not enough for Gen Z. So if we go down to the first section, this talks about what Biden has done for student loan forgiveness, and it asks, based on what you know, is he doing too much, too little, or is he doing the right amount addressing student loans? 43% of Gen Z say too little. If you look at all swing state voters, it's 27. How about the next question? Based on what you know, do you support or oppose the Biden administration's decision to cancel $127 billion in student loans? 59% of Gen Z support. All swing state voters, it comes down to 46. The next question asks how much you've heard about this plan. 42% of Gen Z say not much or not at all. All swing state voters, it goes down to 30. So Gen Z is frequently talked about a key voting bloc for Biden and the Democrats. And right now on student loans, they think he's not doing enough. Other voters that are not Gen Z, they might think he's already done enough. We'll come back to that in a minute. Let's go down to the 7 swing states. It says Trump is leading Biden by 5 in a head-to-head matchup across the 7 swing states. And they do caution you to keep in mind the margin of error. For the individual states, it is a 3 to 5 point margin of error. Now here's all the swing states. Again, Trump is up 5, 47 to 42 across all 7. Arizona, he's up 4. Georgia, 6. Michigan, 4. Nevada, 3. North Carolina, 9. Pennsylvania, 2. And Wisconsin, 4. So these polls could all be off by 2 or 3 points. That's possible. But this is not the first poll we've seen that shows Trump with a lead across all these states. And I always caution people to not get complacent on either side. You might remember back in 2016, it looked like Hillary Clinton was ahead in pretty much all these states. It was hard to imagine all the polls being wrong, but a lot of them were. And Democrats were left stunned. The same thing could happen next time, especially 11 months out. I usually think Biden's lack of support right now is due to a minimal amount of enthusiasm from his base. We just saw that above. The youngest voters, they're dissatisfied with Biden, but by next fall, Trump could be back in the limelight. There could be negative outcomes with his trials, and Biden is bound to put out some executive orders, try to signal to his base that they need to come out and support him over Trump. So there's not a lot of point in thinking this election is over. It's just a snapshot in time, but there has been enough polls that show Biden trailing at this point in time that I think if the election were right now, Trump would win. Down here, it does say Biden still does lead Trump with Gen Z voters 44 to 38. But here's where Biden is in a bind on student loans. Young voters say that he's done too little, but a plurality of Gen X and baby boomers say he's already done too much. That is a big challenge, similar to what's going on with the Israel-Hamas situation. Young voters think he's been too cozy with Israel, but if Biden goes in the other direction, then it seems like he's going to alienate older voters. That is a tough situation to be in. And meanwhile, Trump has the benefit of being on the sidelines right now, that he does not have to deal with those kinds of tough calls. How about this stat here? 23% of swing state voters that voted for Biden in 2020 said they have an unfavorable view of him today, compared to 17% of 2020 Trump voters that say the same about Trump. And here's kind of the response from the administration at this point. They say instead of worrying about polls a year out, our campaign is focused on earning every vote and highlighting the stakes between the extreme MAGA agenda and President Biden's popular agenda that has delivered for young people and Americans of all ages. That's from the Biden campaign. I think he's got half of it right. You should not worry too much about the polls this far out. But I think the half he has wrong is if he was up in the polls by 5 or 10 points in any of these states, they would be talking about it and say that voters are not looking to change course. And these are the kinds of leads in these swing states that I've never seen Trump have before. I can't say enough times that it could change. Biden is in office. He's not going to just sit around, not make any changes before the election. It doesn't mean he will turn it around. And right now, Trump seems undeniably in a better position. Here's an interesting stat. Roughly 1 in 5 voters of Biden's own party support Republicans' effort to launch an impeachment investigation into him. That is higher than I would expect. How about the economy? That is a key issue. I know Democrats talk about abortion, and that no doubt does favor them. But there's other issues out there. And this poll asks, who do you trust more to handle the economy. In every swing state on the economy, Trump has a fairly significant lead. Trump is hovering around 50% in most of these states, while Biden would be lucky to be in the mid-30s. So that's going to be outside any margin of error. How about those key demographics on the economy? With all these groups, Trump is clearly ahead, except black voters. There, Biden has a significant lead, although the gap has narrowed. This poll highlights one thing that might be in Biden's favor. This question asks, in the past month, would you say the prices you pay for everyday goods have increased, decreased, or have they remained stable? Among swing state voters, between November and December, the amount that says increased has dipped a little bit. It's still around 70% that say it's increased, but if you're looking for anything positive for Biden, this is going to be it. The only problem I see with inflation is even if 0% say the prices increased over the past month, that's after they've already increased significantly month after month before that, and people aren't going to get that money back. So it's good if the rate of increase has stopped, but it's another thing to eliminate all the effects of that long-term financial strain. And this is just a head-to-head matchup. There might be 4 or 5 or even more candidates on the ballot. This says 13% of those swing state voters were very likely to consider supporting a candidate from a new political party. There's also a good portion that says they're somewhat likely, but usually I think a lot of voters before an election say they're open to a third party, but when the election actually takes shape, a lot of those voters decide to bail and vote for one of the two major parties. But Gen Z is the highest at 19 that says they're very likely to consider supporting a different party. Baby boomers are the least likely, down at 8%. Among the racial breakdown, black voters clock in with the most at 18%, all the way down to 11% for white voters. The second to last paragraph says Trump's lead over Biden widens to 7 points in battleground states when declared third party and independent candidates are thrown into the mix. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. pulls in 9%, and no other candidate receives more than 2%. That's another X factor for this general election. It's too early to say exactly which candidates are going to make the ballot in which states. It could be Kennedy, Cornel West, Jill Stein, maybe no labels, plus a Libertarian and Constitution Party on the ballot. It could get very complicated very fast. Right now, it does seem like the third parties are going to hurt Biden a little bit more, mostly because he's in power and there's a lot of broad dissatisfaction out there. We're going to see what happens over the next 3 to 6 months, but I do like to take a look at these comprehensive polls that cover all the key states. I've said it over and over. It does not look good for Biden right now, but if you think Trump is just going to walk away with this thing because what we're seeing right now, that I think is complacency. If we're still seeing these polls next July or August as we get closer, then that's going to be a different story. But until then, we just don't know what's going to happen. We're going to follow it, but let me know in the comments. What do you think about this poll? Do you disregard it because it's morning consult? You think they're way off, Biden is actually in the lead? Or do you think Biden is in some real danger at this point? But how do you think the polls might look in 2 or 3 months? How about 7 or 8 months? What do you think could change? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.